Welcome, everyone. I like to see a big crowd. I'm going to hereby now open the Crime Control and Prevention District meeting, Monday, April 22nd, 2024. The time now is 7:03. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's move on to item B, citizen comments. Any person who desires to address the Crime Control and Prevention District Board regulating an item on the agenda will be heard at this time in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act unless the subject matter of the comment is on the agenda. The city staff and CCPD members are not allowed to discuss the subject. Each person is limited to 5 minutes for comments to the CCPD board. I'm reviewing all of my notes, and I believe everybody is for the regular agenda. Is that correct? Perfect. All right, I will move now to item C. Consider approval of minutes for the CCPD meeting held on July 17th, 2023. Lori?
There was the minutes were in your packet. You just need to review them, and if they're acceptable, we just need a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Consider resolution number 2024-1 approved. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion passes. I'm sorry, the resolution passes. And then let's move on to item E. The meeting is now adjourned. Let's move on item D. The resolution 2024-01 amending the 2023-2024 Crime Control and Prevention District budget in the amount of $262,002.19 and authorizing the funding for the purchase of new police radios and accessory equipment for the CCPD District Fund. Please, Chief Danny Keel.
Thank you, Vice Chair and board members. The Jersey Village Police Department is requesting $262,002.19 from the CCPD budget to purchase new police radios and accessories to include earpieces and portable radio cases. The new police radios and accessory equipment is essential to uphold the highest standards of safety and protection for our citizens. Effective and reliable radio police communication is a critical lifeline that ensures the safety of our officers in the field and provides a crucial layer of liability and protection for our city. Our current police radios were purchased in 2012 in the amount of $220,998. These radios have surpassed their original operational lifespan. According to the manufacturer, these radios were designed and expected to serve effectively for a period of 5 to 7 years. The devices have doubled the manufacturer's recommended time frame. Due to the age of the radios, there has been an increase in repairs, along with issues related to the radio's efficiency and reliability. The warranty coverage has expired, and the department has experienced a notable increase in maintenance costs, along with radios being out of service for extended periods of time. Uninterrupted radio communication can be the difference between life and death for our police officers and our community. The reliability of our current radios presents a risk for our officer safety. This risk increases liability concerns for the city. The proposed upgrade to new radios is a necessary step towards enhancing our operational capabilities and addressing the safety and liability concerns associated with the age of our current radios. The inquiry into purchasing new radios began during the 2023-2024 budget planning process. At that time, the department began researching multiple radio manufacturers. Each radio manufacturer had its own set of unique benefits and concerns. A decision was made at that time to be diligent in our efforts to ensure all options were explored before requesting funding for an expenditure of this magnitude. In an attempt to be fiscally responsible, the request for the purchase comes mid-year in an attempt to save money. The Houston-Galveston Area Council, HGAC, by board, has also announced a price increase of approximately 9.45%, which is set to take effect in June of 2024. By securing the purchase of the new radios and accessory equipment before this deadline, the city stands to avoid the cost increase. This request for funding to upgrade our police radios is driven by the need to maintain the highest levels of public safety, officer safety, and fiscal responsibility. Included in this agenda item, you will find the quote from Northwest Communications, an HGAC by-board member, for $254,744, representing the cost of the new radios. The quote also includes the cost the city should wait until after 2024. These same radios at a significant cost increase. Also included in the request is earpieces from In-Ear for $52.12, and the cost for the portable radio cases of $2,045 from 09. The additional radio and accessory equipment brings the total to $262.19. Just requesting funding for that.
Any comments from council?
So we're going in June we would buy the same thing, but it would cost us roughly 9.5% more.
Yes, that's correct.
Just wanted to get that straight. And these are needed to replace radios that are no longer under warranty and are out of date, and so we're going to have to buy radios anyway.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Sounds like a pretty simple conclusion to me. The other thing I wanted to ask was, are we saving, like, are we allocating for the next 7 years, like, anticipating these radios that we're about to purchase? Will that be a part of the future budgets? Yeah, replacement cost, I'm sorry.
That will be something that we will be planning for.
Excellent.
If there's no further discussion, I'll invite a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve. Hold on one moment. Resolution number 2024-01, amending the 2023-2024 Crime Control and Prevention District CCPD budget to the amount of $262,002.19 and authorizing the funding for the purchase of new police radios and accessory equipment from the Crime Control Prevention District Fund.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. All right, that moves us to our final item, E, adjourning the meeting. Thank you. The time now is 7:11. I'm going to now open the City Council meeting for April 22nd, 2024. The time now is 7:12. Madam Secretary, do you have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay. I will now move on to item B, invocation Pledge of Allegiance. Stephanie Otto, Commander of the Jeremy E. Ray American Legion Post 324.
Thank you. I'll cover. Heavenly Father, we come before you today, asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now move on to item C, presentations. Our first presentation is for the Police Department Employee of the 2024 First Quarter Award by Stephanie Otto, Commander-in-Chief of the Jeremy E. Ray American Legion Post 324.
I like that, Commander-in-Chief. Thank you. Each quarter, the American Legion Post 324, Jersey Village Police Department Employee of the Quarter Selection Committee meet to review a list of candidates selected by their peers. This is in no way a simple effort, a simple task. All of the employees of the department are outstanding individuals that serve a purpose greater than themselves. For the first quarter of 2024, the American Legion selection of Officer of the Quarter is Officer Aaron Polster. Officer Polster has shown a high level of professionalism, dedication, and productivity. He loves his job, and his work performance shows it. We thank you for your service and dedication to this department and our community. All these attributes work together to ensure the Jersey Village Police Department runs smoothly and provides our residents peace of mind and makes Jersey Village a destination community. There were several officers nominated this quarter. We thank you all for your continued performance and dedication to our community. Thank you.
Next up is presentation of Employee of the Month Award for April 2024. Austin?
Mayor and Councilors, our April 2024 Employee of the Month, Michael Fontaine, is unable to be with us tonight, but I will just recognize him briefly. Michael's perseverance and steadfast dedication, even in the face of personal challenges, are truly inspiring. His ability to maintain a high level of professionalism and continue contributing significantly to our team's success, despite those hurdles, is very commendable. His positive attitude and tireless work ethic not only enhance our department's capabilities, but also have inspired those around him throughout his department and the other ones as well. With that, we just want to say congratulations, Mike, on being named Employee of the Month, and his dedication not only contributes to our success, but also fosters a culture of excellence and cooperation within the department.
We'll now move on to item D, citizen comments. Before we get going on citizen comments, I just wanted to start with a statement of fact. After reviewing some of the things online, I think that it would be a good idea that we are on the same page of how things make it onto the agenda item come to be. So I thought I would just ask Austin to explain this in layman's terms on how things really get on the agenda so we're on the same page. Based on some of the feedback I was getting, it was appearing that maybe we added this on a few days ago kind of under people's nose, and I really wanted to start by saying, like, we are all on the same team here. We all want the same things. We all value feedback, and we value you, citizens. So, Austin, could you explain that just briefly for me?
Yeah, so typically when an agenda item, there's something that needs to be discussed, a lot of times it goes through the committee process first, and this item actually was brought up by the Golf Course Committee back in November. They talked about it there, then it was on the agenda item for them to discuss more thoroughly in March as well. So in the March meeting, that's where they voted to make their recommendation to the City Council. Their March meeting did not coincide well for us to get it onto the March Council agenda, so it was moved to the April agenda just from a timing perspective. So that's why this item is before Council tonight.
Perfect, thank you. All right, let's get going. First up, Joe Hewitt.
Good evening. I didn't anticipate being first. Okay. Well, good evening. I wrote this was Mayor Warren, so I have to change that up a little. City Council members, City Manager Austin Blease. It's been a while since I last had the opportunity to update you on the progress of Jersey Village Senior Outreach, JVSO. Currently, we have 221 members. It's a number that's fluid, but it steadily grows. Our primary method of promotion remains word of mouth. We do occasionally put something in the Village Star, but again, word of mouth. Currently, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization with low dues for Jersey Village residents aged 55 and older. JVSO continues to thrive, expanding its programs and support services. Earlier this month, we hosted an open house for our members, attended by 120 individuals. They enjoyed a Chick-fil-A lunch and had the chance to explore 25 tables showcasing the diverse ranges of activities and services offered by JVSO. Even our own members who receive a weekly schedule in their email and have access to our private online calendar were impressed by the breadth of options and the dedication of our volunteers. Speaking of volunteers, it's essential to acknowledge that JVSO is entirely volunteer-run, primarily by our own members. Their dedication is what keeps our organization running smoothly. In addition, we would be remiss not to show our gratitude to the city, for without your support, we would not be as successful. Before concluding, I would like to highlight two recent additions to our services. First, we established a medical lending closet where members can borrow durable medical equipment donated by the community. Since its inception at the beginning of the year, several members have already utilized items such as walkers, rollators, crutches, shower benches, and more. The second addition is our Brojects. It's a group primarily composed of our male volunteers, bros, who undertake various projects. These projects, such as home winterizing, fire alarm checks, air filter replacements, and hurricane preparedness, are handled by the volunteers who meet up at Senate Avenue Brewery. The volunteers pair up, complete their task, and reconvene at the brewery for a chance to socialize over a beer and some appetizers. So at this point, we would like to extend our thanks to Senate Avenue Brewery. Finally, I'd like to mention that while not officially sponsored by the JVSO, we had 25 of our members organize a cruise out of Galveston last month. Yeah, see, some of them were there. Now they are making plans for a Hawaii trip next year. Yeah, right? The bonds formed and rekindled within our organization have far exceeded our original vision 9 years ago. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention recently reported that loneliness and social isolation in older adults is a serious public health risk here in the United States. Well, JVSO is the antidote to this issue, which speaks volumes about this wonderful community here in Jersey Village. Thank you.
Thank you. That was lovely to hear. I have Dennis Peterson. Dennis Peterson.
Thank you. Well, you know, in another 20 years or so, when I'm eligible to join JVSO, audience comments, never mind. And I'm sure the mayor picked tonight to be gone, right? That was very fortunate of his timing. So, yeah, we won't question him. Actually, I have a couple of comments on some of the agenda items. The first one is F5 on the drought contingency plans. I have no problem with the plan, but I did, while I was reading the agenda, catch a somewhat disparaging remark about only being 5 comments on the plan itself. And I'd like to address that by recommending that when you have plans that you would like to have reviewed and studies, it would be so much easier for the public if you would do exactly as Austin did for the meeting tonight. Here are the 5 things that are going to change. Here's what it was. Here's what it's going to be. And then That way, you don't have to dig through 10 pages of redlined comments to try to justify what the meaning of the new word is. So I thought that was a great thing. It would have been lovely to have seen it earlier so that people would actually review it and respond. It was also very hard to find. You had to go through. It was referenced through the JV Star, which referred you to the latest news section, which you had to scroll down through the latest news section. So anyway, a little visibility and a little simplicity would make it so much easier, and I think you'd get a lot more comments. The second item is item F12. This is the Clark Henry multi-use diamond field design, which it says is for a multi-use diamond field with lighting, backstop and irrigation, T-ball field, spectator seating with shade structure option, fencing options, landscaping, hardscaping. A lot of different things goes into that. Now, I may be mistaken, but wasn't this part of the bond that was rejected in November by our voters? And now it looks like as though we're paying for it through our general fund. And personally, I think that's inappropriate, something that was turned down that is now showing up as being funded through our general fund. It also says that we put $500,000 from the general fund into the CIP for this year, and that we're anticipating doing more, adding more in the future. I guess my question is that what is the anticipated total of this? Right now we've got $500,000 into it, and it looks like it'll put more, so I'd be curious to know what the total cost projection is for this program. If you use the standard design fee terms that you have up here for Burdett, I just did a little adding, subtracting, and if they use the standard design schedule, the project looks to cost somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million, which is pretty substantial for that area. In fact, it's more than 3 or 4 of the bonded road projects that were on the November election. And so again, I'm going, why was this put into the general funds in that type of fashion? Just a comment and a question. G2, I am against closing of the golf course bridge to vehicular traffic. If we needed additional parking and we were designing a very expensive new golf course house and clubhouse and convention center, seems like we would have considered what the parking would be at the time of the design as part of a master plan rather than after the fact, and oh, by the way, we want to close the bridge. It's kind of like building a house and then deciding, oh, gee, where am I going to park? So, but I think the main reason I'm against it is not because of that. It cuts off access to one of our major JV neighborhoods, which is the Lakes of Jersey Village. That's their back door. That's how they come into the city, I would guess, the majority of the time. And now they would have to go all the way around, as they do now, to into the Jersey Drive or into by the bank there, Old Bank. So anyway, I think that it is an afterthought that should have been a forethought, and I'm against closing it at this point. That's my question.
And to answer your question, the multi-field number 13 is from the capital improvement funds, and it was part of the comprehensive plan. I'll email you.
There was a lot of items on the bond, and a lot of them were wanting to move those costs forward to save money in the long term. This is some design work, as you mentioned. This is about $1 million, which is far less than what the bond was.
And I believe this scope is just the green space.
I strongly encourage you to attend the bond committee hearing, the bond committee meeting tomorrow.
Lucky. Next up, Brian McCauley.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you letting me speak. I just had a few points, and I will say this to Mayor Bobby's point. I'm sure he would absolutely love to be here. He's definitely not one that is opposed to letting you know what he thinks and everything. So hats off to him. I did see his posting on Facebook today. I thought it was pretty good. I will say I agree with him in the sense of it is a safety issue. So I agree with that. I would like for it to be open, but for me, you know, the benefit of going around and being able to go through there is a big benefit to people that are either in that part of Jersey Village or in Lakes of Jersey Village, et cetera. The thing I see the most benefit of it there is the ability to provide a protected left and going down to Jones, especially when the traffic is busy. You know, you can try to get there, probably taking a right on the access road to 290, but if it's heavy traffic, you know, there's a lot of opportunity for accidents. So I see that as a benefit. But I think at the end of the day, you know, I can, you know, as a citizen, I can live with it being closed if we get what we really I think makes the most sense, right, which is extending the street from Jersey Meadows all the way into Rio Grande and putting a new bridge there, which is basically meant for driving traffic. And, you know, to Mayor Bobby's point, I think he alluded to the fact that that's something he would support and moving it up in terms of priority. And, you know, I'm just kind of looking at it, too, that, like, we have a plan potentially to build a bridge between, you know, Philippine over by the school and the, I can't remember the name of the road, but where the swimming pool is. I don't, what's that? Yeah. I don't see that adds a whole lot. You know, maybe, you know, there's some benefit to it, but I think this would be a bigger priority. So my message to you guys would be, I think we need to make that a bigger priority and move that up the list. If we do that, I think this will take care of a lot of the argument. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Will Beasley. Will?
Will first. Oh, my middle name's Will. I thought you just forgot first.
Oh. I didn't forget you.
Fair enough.
But now I know your middle name.
The first thing I want to say is, to my best recollection, when that bridge was first installed, it was not for general traffic to go across. And shutting it down, though very unfortunate, would be appropriate with its design. So it's a bummer, and maybe something could be, you know, but it's going to be a very painful, and the optics are going to be awful. So get ready. But what I really want to speak about is the health situation for the kids in the community, which I think is actually a bigger problem than I think people realize. Kids' fitness levels. So kids that do not do sports through their adolescence will struggle with their fitness for the rest of their life. You are programming their bodies for how they're going to be. And kids that are in sports throughout their adolescence will always very easily be able to get back in shape. With that in mind, I think the dearth of sports fields and even this plan that's coming that I guess is on the agenda that I haven't actually seen or read. Sorry, that's not going to be enough. So what I really urge you, you know, to consider that property that's basically been the albatross for all you guys in City Council. You know, Jones and 290, to consider instead of having it as a stadium or whatever, actually just turn it into generalized sports fields that the kids, you know, and teams can rent. I think that's going to get the best bang for the buck when it comes to the quality of life of the citizens of Jersey Village, and especially the kids who, you know, given the history, and I was very inspired by what I heard that the senior group is doing, and if we could have that same level of outreach for the health of our kids, that would be wonderful, but that's not there. And so I urge you to consider changing course and use that land as sports fields for our kids and improve the quality of life for the citizens and the kids of Jersey Village. So that's really it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Eric Anow.
Eric Anow, 15601 Singapore Lane. Good evening, and thank you, Mayor Pro Tempore and City Council members. Some observations on a busy month. Trail connection to White Oak Bayou trails from Henry Clark Park. Harris County Flood Control District has made progress on the Bayou Trail to the point where riding with a road bike is very possible along good stretches of the bayou. This is a great amenity for the community, both as an attractor and an excellent place for healthy exercise. An impromptu group is formed and taken to doing group rides on Tuesday evenings, starting and ending at the brewery. All hail the White Oak Bayou Greenway Riders. Hail! March 21st. It was a freak storm that blew through our neighborhood that left us all surprised and stunned. Afterwards, I certainly appreciated the information and community we all shared online on how best navigate the onslaught of predatory vendors attempting to sell us new roofs. It was also good to see and hear how quickly JVPD was to respond to calls for enforcement and ordinances with those mischievous vendors. Brewery recognized by CityCast Houston, episode 4324. Our local brewery, Senate Avenue, got some podcast airtime, being recognized on the CityCast Houston episode on the Guide to the Best Craft Beers and Breweries in Houston. Again, another great attribute we have to our fabulous little city here. Founders Day, April 13th. At 68 years young, JV, you're looking good. With a great turnout of locals at the Clark Henry Park, it was so much fun attending and participating in Founder Day celebration. A hearty round of thank you to Parks and Rec and volunteers for a job well done. City Manager recognition, April 19th. It was very reassuring seeing Austin Blees receiving recognition for his job that he fills here, awarded by University of Houston Hobby School of Public Affairs. I extend my congratulations on a recognition well deserved. Opening of the new Jersey Meadow Golf Clubhouse. After having a less than stellar time at the old clubhouse back in 2021, Kimberly and I were very pleased and happy to go and enjoy ourselves on the first open day to the public. The food and drinks were stellar, along with the beautiful interior decoration and solid construction. I look forward to enjoying bragging about this complex to my friends who I will take and show it off to. City Council elections. I've been participating in support of one of the residents running for City Council during this election cycle. During the meet and greets, dads, driveways, and drafts, and campaign planning meetings, it has been tremendously fun and fulfilling meeting other members of the community. I have immense respect for those who run. There is so much to do, plan, and execute. Here's to positive campaigning. 8. Golf course parking lot bridge. I am not personally affected by the closure, but I can certainly feel the frustration, anger, and sense of deception that some of the residents are feeling about its possible forever closure. Personally, I am in favor of keeping the bridge closed, simply for safety's sake. Whether or not the city is liable, having an accident on that bridge that could possibly take a life or several would be a real stain on this city for many years to come. I do believe that the city and city council need to act quickly, decisively, and announce clearly so that the citizens have a resolution as quick as possible. Let us citizens of Jersey Village find focus on looking forward to resolution to this problem rather than looking back and simply trying to place blame. This might be another opportunity in that the city can take some time and look at inspecting the other bridges in the city for compliance or needed maintenance. Here's to energies moving Jersey Village forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Michael Turigian. Did I pronounce that correctly? Turigian. Say it one more time. Turigian.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. This is kind of impromptu, me coming this evening. I've lived in Jersey Village. The first time I moved here in 2012, and then moved away for a couple of years, and now moved back in 2021. There seems to be, just from looking at the online comments and things like that, there seems to be just a feeling of distrust from some of the residents about the decisions being made. And I can kind of see why that is. My perception is that there's not a lot of transparency, or doesn't appear to be a lot of transparency on items that appear to be more important to residents than perhaps it was thought they were going to be. The bridge is an example of that. How you can do a multi-million-dollar renovation and tell people when you start the renovation, hey, the bridge is only going to be closed for a year and we're going to reopen it. And then it seems like at the last minute, a lot of the residents feel like Charlie Brown and you guys are Lucy with the football. So I think just in general, if there was more transparency about this and maybe more time given to the discussion rather than, hey, we're putting this on the agenda tonight and we're going to vote on it, and maybe have more time for open comment and other people may have solutions. It does affect where I live. I live over on Gill Street, and there's a problem with traffic as it is now on Rio Grande. There's a problem, I think it's the street that comes in from Los Cucos, Village Green. So on Village Green, the houses, that small sets of houses, there's a lot of street parking, which bottlenecks things. With the bridge being closed, there's even more traffic on that, so it's pretty inconvenient. Rio Grande's pretty narrow as it is, and I'm not sure enough consideration has been given to how much traffic it will force onto especially if there are the events and things like that they're talking about doing with at the new golf course. That much more traffic, I think, it would be disconcerting. So just in general, I'm happy to be living here. It's in large part to the police department and how safe they keep us all. But I have some frustration, as some of the others do, as far as just the amount of transparency. And is it just poor planning? I mean, to me, it just seems like that's a big miss. It's like building a building and not having planned for the water line. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Next up, we have Kurt Will Beasley.
So I've lived here since 2003, 21 years, right? And our first house was on Tahoe. Then we built a house in Windham Village, right? So the bridge is kind of a big deal to our family, right? Whenever, like he talked about earlier, whenever y'all started that project, y'all said, y'all even put out signs out there that said, hey, the bridge is closed for 1 year. It'll open up in July of 24. So everyone's bummed about it, right? At least my family is. And then you guys came back and said, I didn't know about it until Simon Hughes put it on Facebook. But thank you for pointing out on how that works. Because a lot of people think that you try to slip one in there, but you didn't. But, I used to run a restaurant called Popsito's Cantina. And that's where I met my wife. And I had a boss there. His name was Dean Lyons. And he was famous for saying this: do what you say you're going to do. Okay? Because tonight, your integrity is going to be tested. Because y'all told us it'd be a year. Now, the committee came back, and one of you is in charge of that committee. I think it's Jennifer. I could be wrong. Sherry.
The chairman's in charge, not Sherry. The chairman's in charge.
Okay. So she knew that the decision was made out of that committee meeting. And I'm sure she shared that information with the rest of you.
That would be illegal.
Okay, then she didn't. But my point is that I don't think anything was slipped under the rug, but what I think you should do is table the item and wait till Bobby gets back. Or you can vote on it right now, tonight. All right?
Just a statement of fact, you do understand that our mayor does not vote.
I didn't know that.
That he does. Yeah, our mayor does not have a voting voice, even when he is here, and so it's always just council, the 5 votes here.
Okay. So, out of 21 years, it's never been a problem to have that bridge open. Now, all of a sudden, it is. Now, people talk about safety, okay, which I totally agree with. Now, I would invite you to go down to Wall Street and look at the project y'all did, where every single ADA ramp is in noncompliance. And I sent it to all of y'all via email. Now, you can go spend the dollars to go fix it, but if the city's so worried about safety, I'd care to argue they're not, because none of those ADA ramps are safe, right? The slope is 8.05% is max, and you've exceeded it. Not only that, the sidewalks you installed don't have the right slope either. So I don't think that safety is a real issue with the city council. I think safety is something that fits the narrative of what city council wants to do. And I read somewhere that someone says there's 1,300 cars a day. I'm not really sure where they got that from, because I doubt there's a TIA, traffic impact analysis, performed. Maybe it was. But another thing is my wife's aunt and uncle live in the red roof houses, right? Now you've shut it down for them, unless you have some provision to put some type of pedestrian walkway where they can park in the parking lot by the detention pond. I don't know. Ashley Hart mentioned to add this to the capital improvement plan, and I think she's right. I think there needs to be something in the middle, somewhere we meet in the middle, that we can all agree upon, because you're going to have the people that say, I don't want the bridge. Some people say, I want the bridge. Surprisingly, there's people in my neighborhood that I thought would want the bridge open, and they don't. So you can have people living right next door to each other that have 2 completely different opinions. But if you guys could at least come to something to meet in the middle, where both sides can be satisfied, right? If you need to, what's ironic is I was at the golf course today and I saw it says Jersey Meadow Golf Course, right? Okay, you can't get to the golf course going down Jersey Meadow Drive, right? Doesn't make sense to me, but if you guys maybe put it or extend the road all the way down to Rio Grande and cross the bridge that's in front of Woodland Village, that's an option. It's an expensive option because the last bridge I built cost $1.8 million. Depends on how you build the bridge, right? But I think my 5 minutes is up, and thanks for listening to me.
Thank you. Next, I have Nancy Roberts.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for letting me speak. I am concerned about the lot on the south side of Village Drive that I have to call about every time it needs to be mowed. And when I call code enforcement about it, it takes another at least 2 full weeks before someone comes and mows it. So that is a privately owned lot, and that's been going on ever since the city or the county sold it off to this private individual. So my question would be, is there an ordinance about upkeep, and how can we enforce that better? And there are other situations as well. There's there's actually a house that's been empty 2 doors down from us for 5 years. And once in a while somebody comes by and does something. They don't do the yard, and a little space right next to that house that was sold off to another individual that's too small to build on. He put a fence up, and now the fence is falling down. We haven't seen him in years. So it's just, Village Drive is where people come and go through the village, and it's just unsightly. And I'm tired of having to call about it. I think something needs to be done about it. And the other thing is, if the city could weed eat around all the poles on Village Drive, that would be a big help too, because it just looks terrible. And I'll put my 2 cents in, since I live on Village Drive. I do not want the bridge closed because we can hardly get out of our driveways now. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Next, I have Simon Hughes.
Hello, Simon Hughes, 15409 Lakeview. Obviously, the golf course bridge is a big issue. That's why you have all these people here this evening. My concern over it doesn't really affect me that much in terms of I only cut through occasionally to go to the car wash. But my concern of what's happened here is that I learned a couple of weeks ago from somebody on the advisory committee, oh yeah, the bridge is going to be closed. And I was floored. I was like, wow, that's big news. And so when I started asking around, and there was a conversation with Bobby Warren, somebody said, well, now that it was with the announcement with the golf course clubhouse opening, and somebody said, so now is the bridge going to open? And Bobby's response was, it was something sort of equivocal. And I said, Bobby, I heard that the bridge is going to remain closed. Come clean with it and say. That led to more digging, more contacting each of y'all, finding out, looking at the agenda. Bottom line being is that resulted in my putting a little post on Facebook and saying, yeah, apparently it's on the agenda for council to close the golf course bridge. The point being, while y'all are strictly compliant with your obligations to post the agenda on the Friday before the Monday meeting and disclose what you're going to discuss, anybody with a brain knows that closing permanently the golf course bridge is a hot topic, hence Exhibit A. If it's a hot topic, y'all ought to at least give the residents an opportunity well in advance, not on 3 days' notice, but just like you do, you advertise the Founders Day, the Farmers Market, the concerts in the park. I mean, you ought to give people a heads up and maybe even have an open house, a town hall saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this, so that people on these hot topics have a chance to weigh in and give their opinions. And that's something where I think that the constituents, the residents of Jersey Village sometimes have the perception that they're not being heard and these things are just flying by and getting passed, and they want to be heard. So I would encourage you, when you have these sort of hot topics, and when we know what they are, the golf course bridge, the things to do with 290, etc., take a moment and figure out from a PR perspective how you're going to present it and give the residents an opportunity to weigh in, talk to all of y'all, not in a condensed 3-day period, but over a period of time so you can really get the feeling of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. I'm going to try my best. Keith Frischenmeyer. I didn't do that right. I'm sorry.
It was close enough. You're not doing any worse than anybody else has.
Thank you, Keith.
I promise you. Thank you guys for giving me a chance to talk. I've shaken some of your hands. I live close to some of you. And obviously, like they said, this is a hot topic for everybody. I have a couple of different points. It doesn't bother me transportation-wise, one or the other, but I do live in Wyndham Village. My big concern is, what's the alternative option? Does Rio Grande get completed all the way through? I've been told by people that can't happen. I don't know if that's written somewhere or if it's just talk. The second conversation is, do you complete Jersey Meadow all the way through? If you do, obviously there's an addition of the bridge. What I do enjoy about the golf course being a thoroughfare is that it's closed at night. That being said, cuts down on a lot of the riffraff that can get into the city at night to cause us problems, to strain the police force and other things like that. As you know, if you complete the street, even though you build a bridge, there's going to be some yahoo that drives a truck that comes across a bridge that's not rated for the bridge. And then we're right back to where we are with the current bridge that we have coming through the golf course, right? So in that point, my question is, all this has come to face in the last few days. He said that there was a conversation with Bobby a couple weeks ago. I heard that this was discussed in March and tabled for this month, correct? There was some talk about it in March?
I'm going to say it was discussed on the by the golf course committee. In
okay,
fact,
so not amongst yourselves, but just the golf course committee. Okay, that'll take that apart. If you do complete Jersey Meadow Drive, then my question is, then possibly there's a dog park safety issue, right? Because people aren't going to drive through there slowly. The police department does a great job in the city. That's why I love this city. Our emergency services are amazing and everything else. But you're still going to have some idiot driving through there crazy. And as somebody whose wife goes to the dog park every night, and I've met a ton of people that go to that dog park, I'm concerned about the safety of the dog park and how much of that is going to get cut off. As well, if you close Jersey Meadow, all of the improvements we've made to the golf course and all of the talk we've made about it becoming self-sufficient and making its own way, you're cutting off a huge demographic of people who are going to come to the golf course to eat dinner, play golf. And if you rub them the wrong way, if you will, they may go, I'm just not coming at all. I'm not driving around to go to the golf course. I'm not driving around to maybe go to the brewery. I'm not driving around to have dinner, which then kind of cuts off a certain amount of revenue to what we've tried to do altogether. I spoke about emergency services. It'll take them a little longer to dispatch to some of those areas if we cut the roads off. And then while we haven't had a major event, quote unquote, really since Harvey, which is when we moved to Jersey Village, and there have been some improvements to the golf course with the berm and the stuff to keep water off of Rio Grande. If we have a significant event, there's no way for us in the back part of the neighborhood to evacuate until you get to Wall Street. You can't turn on Coaster. If I say that right, I apologize. There's no way to turn on Coaster Street and get out of the neighborhood or any of that. And why I will tell you, I watched the retention pond like a hawk because I was new to the neighborhood and bought a house, and every morning when the sun came up, I looked at the water, and every night before the sun went down, I looked at the water to see the level. There was still plenty of room for us to get out of the neighborhood during Harvey through the golf course if we needed to for an evacuation route. Luckily, we didn't have to. And while on paper, all of the improvements done in White Oak Bayou should avoid us having that issue again, we've not really been tested by a significant event. We really haven't, I don't think. We've had some rainstorms, but I don't think enough to really test the infrastructure. So that's really all I have. I hope that this gets tabled a little bit where we can have a conversation. I like Simon's conversation about we probably should have had a town hall to really discuss this and shake hands and talk in a more formal or less formal manner, if you will. But the last question I have was, you guys were talking about the votes if Bobby's not here, and having been part of a board, I understand that. So can I ask who are the voting members? So the 5 of you. So am I correct in saying, Michelle, if you're sitting in for Bobby, you don't really have a vote tonight? She does. Okay, fair enough.
I'm still in.
Just didn't know. Ma'am?
I'm still
No, I wasn't trying to kick you out in any means. I was just asking, how does that work then for my well-being, because I just wanted to ask. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Keith. Okay, there's only 34 left. Just kidding. Next up is Bill Edwards.
I've got a few things I want to talk about. One about the consent agenda. I would like the resolutions 2024-30, 2024-10, and 2024-11 put on the regular agenda. These are concerning the the drought conditions and the water conservation plans. It would be nice for the citizens to know about them so they can make their own plans and that would correspond to whatever water you guys are going to cut off from us. Another one is on Resolution 2024-36 concerning the multi-use field at Clark Henry. Doesn't this conflict with what the bond committee is supposed to be doing? It sure sounds like it to me, having sat through the first bond committee meeting. I would ask that that also be put on the regular agenda and discussed. And now for the Hornet's Nest. I do not want you to table the bridge at all. We lived here for 10 years before I realized that you actually could drive across that bridge. And not only is it dangerous as far as safety goes, but it's just flat illegal to cut through a parking lot in the state of Texas. And it has been since I got my driver's license umpteen years ago, way before any of you guys were born. And for that simple reason that it's against the law, it should be shut down. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Next up, we have Rick Fairclough.
I'm Rick Fairclough, 16010 Lakeview. Got a couple of things to talk about tonight. One that I do every year. When you do budgets, don't forget the senior citizens and make sure you can make some provisions for some additional homestead exemptions for us. Second thing, and many of the others have spoke about this, I brought this up at least last month, if not the month before, about the bridge. Specifically, as was said, everybody was understanding it was going to open back up. But from a safety point of view, that restrict, and I've sent all of you emails about this, to restrict traffic to only one lane. I've seen times where there's been 3 cars on that bridge at the same time. Posted signs for stopping on both sides, which there's not. They're only on one side. And clearly that it's only to have one lane. I've had a long email from the mayor today while he was on holiday saying that we should probably do something. Just restrict it to golf carts and people. Well, you'll have to do some reconfiguration to have people walking, a secured walking side, and then for one lane for vehicles. And if you can put a golf cart on it, you can put a car on it. Back when I was on council, many, many years ago, when the golf course was developed over on the other side, we did have discussions to extend Jersey Meadow Drive all the way to Rio Grande. But nothing ever happened, never got in the budget. And then Harris County came in, put the detention pond in. They have a spillway. So even if you shut this thing down, as many have said, it's going to cost a lot of money to run that through and how it might impact the dog park. As I've said earlier, and I really feel strong that, as others have said tonight, that this council should table this issue and go back and look at it with citizen input to come up with a consensus that works for everybody from a safety point of view, but not shut down the bridge at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Next up, I have Jim Fields.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council. My name is James Fields. I live at 16413 St. Helier, and thank you for allowing me to contribute to tonight's meeting. This bridge is really puzzling to me. We hear this safety, it's substandard, I know for a fact 8 or 9 years ago I asked about the structural integrity of the bridge, and they said it was okay. I requested those documents on Thursday and still have not received them. And what's puzzling to me is if this bridge was definitely substandard, you would have those at your fingertip. I think the whole reason for this is there's not enough parking space for the new restaurant and the golf course. That's not the reason to close the bridge. As another contributor had said, we're putting the cart in front of the horse. This should have been thought about way before they even constructed it. And the only thing, if we're here, they built it. The thing I can think of we need to do is build a footbridge, either attach it to the current bridge, and again, I'd like clarification from many of you what the safety issues are. Again, I didn't receive the documents. And if you haven't seen the documents, then we got a problem there too. We need to do our due diligence. But what we could do is have a footbridge built adjacent to it which is a lot cheaper than pushing the road through from Rio Grande to Meadows Drive. It's funny, this is the same problem I'm having with the pool. I attended the bond meeting, and again, there was information provided by Austin Blease and Robert Bashford that the pool is leaking again. They didn't have the documents. There is no proof that the pool is leaking. And again, I'm asking, when these statements are made, that you provide the documents. The only way I got the documents at that meeting was Austin Blease said, you need to go get a Freedom of Information Act, which I can't believe is true. He should have said, sir, we'll get them for you. I got them, and again, the pool is not broken and it's not leaking. Moving on. So again, leave the bridge open until you prove to me and everybody else in here that there's a safety issue with the bridge. And I don't know, are we talking about the traffic going through it? I mean, we've had that thing open. I've been here since 1990, 34 years, and I don't know of any incident, of any traffic incident that has happened. One other thing, voting machines. This is really interesting to me. I was told at one time I could not use, or the electronic voting machine was strictly for the handicapped. I called the Secretary of State and found out that anybody can use it. And I recommend everyone here that's behind me when they're voting to use it. It's extremely easy, and it's very accurate because you can't overvote, which means you can vote for 2 people at one time. It's arcane to use a pencil and paper, and I think we need to move on. And in the future, we should buy a couple more voting machines with the scanners so they can be tallied automatically. I know we don't hold these elections often, but they're extremely important because the people elected will be making major decisions in the future of our city. Last thing is, I'd like to request the following items moved from the consent agenda. Is number 3, is F3. This is it's a community development block grant project. Can you please tell us what monies and what projects it's going to, please? And number 5, No, I'll pass them. I got the wrong one there. Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, it's 12 and 13. 12, can you give us an update on the building that's coming on Senate, and what's the status? Are they making progress on it? The last one is 13, and I think another contributor or citizen had said the cost is again $1.5 million to $2 million for that. And again, it is surprising that the citizens voted it down, and now we're going back to do it anyway. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, Lori?
Mr. Fields, I just wanted to address your concerns about the disabled voting machine. The city is running an election, and we are currently in early voting. The city has made arrangements to have a disabled voting machine in accordance with state law. You did ask me about it, and as a matter of fact, you did attend the public LNA testing of that machine. The machine's purpose is for the disabled voter. Now, people who do come to vote are welcome to vote on the machine, but when you told me about that and asked questions about it, I mentioned to you that the purpose is for the disabled voter. And that's why we have the machine there. It is by state law. And people who are not disabled are welcome to use the regular ballot, the paper ballots, as opposed to the machine. So also you asked me a question about the pencils and how people have to mark their ballots. If a person votes and they make a mistake, each person is entitled to have up to 3 ballots. If they make a mistake, they go to the election worker, and that ballot is then what's called a spoiled ballot. You also asked me this process during the LNA testing, and I explained it to you. So if you do have other questions, or if you're not sure about the process, I'd be more than happy to help you with that.
Oh, I'm sorry, your time is up.
That's not right.
You're way over time. You can email all of us. Oh. Jim, you're not being respectful of everybody's time. Jim, I'm going to have to ask you one more time to please have a seat. Please have a seat. Be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you. Jim, thank you. Next up is Michael Stembridge.
Michael Stembridge. Good evening, Mrs. Mayor Pro Tempore, City Council, City Manager. I at first was against reopening the bridge, and there were some good arguments for that. But since then, I have changed my mind, and I'm for it being reopened. I was for it being closed, but now I'm for it being reopened, and we just need some relief here. We need some relief on our property taxes and people's property taxes. We don't want more apartments. We want it to remain a small community, Jersey Village, and I feel that Jim Fields will be a cohesive, productive member of City Council. He's here religiously. He has a lot of passion for the seat. He speaks his mind, very similar to Mayor Warren and yourselves. And I agree with a lot of his issues. I don't agree with every single issue, but I agree with a lot of his issues. Safer streets. We've had some break-ins, not on my street, thank God, but and I won't name the street. But there's been some break-ins, there's been some vehicle thefts, things like that. And JVPD does an awesome job. Chief Keel does an awesome job. But one thing that James wants is more police presence, and I don't know how you would do that because you all might feel the same way. Maybe more funding or something, or more officers. I've never worked in law enforcement, so I have no idea. You might have more of a perspective on that, Councilman Singleton or somebody else, or, I don't know, maybe Chief Keel. But I know it's an issue. And it needs to be fixed. And I'm for the bridge being open. I was diehard for it being closed, but now I'm for it being open. There's people that have neighborhoods there, that live in there, that need to have access. I don't feel compelled to use it every day. I've gotten used to not using it. But for the person that chooses to use it, I think it should be their option. I don't know what we have to do. I don't know, do we have to do more preventive maintenance on it? Do we need to do more structural tests? I am curious about what happened when it was closed, what refurbishing or maintenance of it was done then, and what the engineering, perspective is on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. And last but not least, we have Kimberly Anow.
My name is Kimberly Anow, and I live at 15601 Singapore Lane. As my 31st installment, Jersey Village is a municipality that was incorporated in Harris County, Texas on April 16, 1956, to avoid annexation by the city of Houston. This led to the city of Jersey Village being formed after having been the F&M Jersey Ranch from 1938 to 1948 and converting the 1,279 acres into a suburban oasis. Deep in the heart of Texas lies many laws, rules, and procedures to which private citizens, volunteers, appointed and elected officials, municipalities, and counties must adhere. To register for the unpaid position on Jersey Village City Council, the person must be a resident of and have lived continuously in the city for not less than 1 year prior to the election, be qualified to vote in city elections, and not be in arrears of paying city taxes. To withdraw from the ballot, the request must be made no less than the 74th day before the election. Awareness of who is still running and their positions is available on communityimpact.com under Houston Cy-Fair election and by contacting the candidates to learn more of their experience, philosophy, and temperament. To vote, a person must be registered with Harris County at least 30 days from Election Day. Municipal elections in Texas are nonpartisan. If the mayor, also unpaid, is not available for city council meetings, the mayor pro tem presides per the agenda and is allowed to vote as typical. Procedures for governmental meetings include the Open Meetings Act, as it requires meetings of governmental bodies to be open to the public, except for expressly authorized closed or executive sessions, and to be preceded by public notice of the time, place, and subject matter of the meeting. In order for a closed meeting to occur, an agenda is also made available, and the quorum open meeting is begun with the presiding officer, such as the mayor, publicly advising of the closed meeting, detailing the subchapter D legal reasons, such as consulting with the city attorney, deliberations of real property, personnel matters, and economic development negotiations. Only members of the governmental body and necessary officers and employees are allowed in closed meetings. Texas Government Code 551.007C advises a governmental body may adopt reasonable rules regarding public's right to address that limit the total amount of time on a given item. Current First Amendment precedent would allow rules that restrict speakers to the subject of the meeting, impose time limits on speakers, and prevent disruptions of the meeting. A governmental body might adopt a rule by having a single speaker's well, there it went. By having a single government body, the government body may, but are not required to respond to this. If the public raises a non-agenda item, Section 55.042 of the Act still applies to require the governmental body to limit its comments about non-agenda items. Texas Government Code 551.023b advises a governmental body may adopt reasonable rules to maintain order at a meeting. The city website also advises no one shall delay or interrupt the proceedings or refuse to obey the orders of the presiding officer. Citizens and other visitors shall observe the same rules of propriety, decorum, and good conduct as members of the City Council. And attendees refrain from private conversations that distract from the business at hand. Apparently, lots of people are afraid that someone else is getting something that they aren't resonates so badly that they are unable to trust their own elected city council and state legislatures to be impartial and analytical while abiding by state laws and suffering the legal penalties if they do not. Regardless, I'm grateful to Clark Henry for being resolute to begin building the city of Jersey Village. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. All right, and that concludes our citizen comments. I'll move on to item E, the city manager's report. Austin?
Mayor and councilors, the report's before you. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Austin, can you just briefly describe about some of the grants you've applied for, including the CDBG block grant?
Yeah. So as noted in the memo there for item F3, the CDBG grant is for the comprehensive plan project. Help us pay for the cost for that. Some of the other CDBG funding we've had in the past was specifically for the Berm Wall Street project, $1.792 million or so. So those are the two CDBG products that we've had.
Thank you.
At this moment, would any council members like to pull any items of this agenda?
I'd like to pull F11, please.
11.
I'd like to pull F7 and F13.
And I'd like to pull F6.
All right, would anybody like to make a motion to pass the agenda?
Then I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the agenda passes. All right, we'll move on to the regular agenda, but we will start with consent item number 6, considering ordinance 2024-11, adopting a drought contingency plan for the city of Jersey Village, amending the code of ordinances in the city of Jersey Village, chapter 70 utilities by amending article 5, drought contingency plan, providing a severability clause, providing a penalty as provided in sections 1 through 8 of the code, and providing an effective date. Robert?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. The City of Jersey Village introduced its first drought contingency plan with Ordinance 2000-25, a significant move for water resource management. However, this plan has only had minor tweaks since its introduction. With the city's changing needs and the goal of improved water management, staff are now working to revise the plan. Public involvement was a key part of the revision process, using email, social media, the city website, and the March JV Star newsletter to gather community feedback. Even though it was a great push for public feedback, especially having to enter the plan last year, only a few people provided feedback on the plan. The feedback did help shape the proposed updates to the drought contingency plan, however. These updates will aim to improve the plan's effectiveness and clarity in addressing water shortages. There are proposed changes for the triggering events for the plan. Phase 1 would be triggered when the city reaches the production capacity of 90% or more for 3 consecutive days. Phase 2 would be triggered when the city reaches the production capacity of 95% or more for 2 consecutive days. And the following table offers a concise comparison of the current drought contingency plan versus the proposed contingency plan. The proposed revisions include updates to Phase 1 and Phase 2 of water shortage conditions, incorporating the duration of these conditions into the plan. Notably, Phase 1 is proposed to shift from a mandatory to a voluntary stage, allowing for greater flexibility by permitting 2 voluntary watering days per week. Conversely, Phase 2 proposes clarified measures by mandating water use restrictions, a bit still permitting 2 watering days per week, as opposed to the previous allowance for only 1 day per week. Furthermore, phases 3 and 4 have been revised to provide clearer guidance on mandatory water use restrictions. Phase 3 also specifically designates 1 watering day per week to streamline water usage during critical stages of shortage. These proposed changes aim to ensure the drought contingency plan remains relevant and effective in addressing the city's current and future water management needs while also promoting community involvement and understanding. And the motion would be to approve ordinance 2024-11.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I can add one thing in here, there is a change from the ordinance that was in the packet. There's 2 slight changes that are in the Exhibit A that did not make it in the ordinance in the packet. So those ones are in Exhibit A, which I believe everybody has a copy of. Just want to make that clarification out there.
Thank you.
So this summer when we had water restrictions, we were kind of aligning with the city of Houston, correct? So is this kind of decoupling us from what they're doing and allowing us to make our own decisions based on...
Correct me if I'm wrong, but does changing this give us a little more leeway and flexibility from moving phase 2 from mandatory to voluntary, so it gives a little bit more power to the citizens?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
To me, this looks a lot more realistic than what we have had in the past, because it was like there was no restrictions to absolute mandatory, very specific hardline stuff. This seems a little more realistic to me, as a person that doesn't pay attention to the watering of her yard.
Any more discussion?
Then I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2024-11.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries. Next up, we have consider resolution. This is item number 7 from the consent agenda. Consider resolution 2024-31, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Westwood Professional Services, design and construction management of the Seattle Street and Singapore Lane reconstruction projects. Austin?
Mayor and councilors, Mayor Pro Tem and councilors, this item here is for us to begin the design and engineering work for the Seattle and the Singapore Lane projects that were approved as part of the bond program, bond initiatives. So the cost for this design is $534,566. Westwood Professional Services, they are the proposed firm for managing the design. They're a full-service, multidisciplinary professional engineering firm providing services throughout the country. We believe that they are well qualified. They are one of the people that we did shortlist for design services from the RFP that we issued earlier this year as well. They are available to start immediately. We would target this construction to occur in 2025.
And this will be paid for with the bond funds?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-31.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Next up, we have item number 11 from the consent agenda. Consider resolution 2024-34, authorizing the city manager or designee to negotiate and execute an interlocal agreement with Harris County regarding the transfer of certain emergency services equipment. And this is for Chief Pitts.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, thank you for this evening. Jersey Village Fire Department has an ambulance that was going into auction. This ambulance was kept additional years beyond the replacement because of the parts issues occurring during COVID. We believe we now are able to remove this ambulance from inventory and place it into auction. The ambulance is a 2012 Dodge Ram 4500 chassis with a Fraser-built module. Harris County Fire Marshal's office contacted us recently with an inquiry to purchase the ambulance for the use at their fire training field. City policy allows the sale of assets through the following methods as written in the policy. There's 6 methods. Upon approval by the city manager, surplus materials and equipment may be disposed of in the following methods: public auction, trade-in on new equipment, sealed bids, destruction as unsalvageable, donation to nonprofit organizations, or negotiated price by council. Item 6, the negotiated price by council. This vehicle had a trade-in value of $25,000 3 years ago. We would recommend a negotiated price between $15,000 and $18,000 to sell to Harris County, Texas, if council authorizes the sale of this 2012 Dodge Ram Fraser ambulance. The motion is before you. Also in the packet is the interlocal agreement and the resolution.
Any discussion?
Well, not an official conflict. I think everybody knows I typically abstain from anything having to do with the Harris County Fire Marshal's Office, so I'll be abstaining.
All right.
Yes, with that said, I move that we approve Resolution 2024-34.
I'll second.
We need a price in there.
Yeah.
We need exact price.
Chief Bitts, you have a...
We need a price.
Where?
Recommended $15,000 to $18,000, somewhere in there.
Let's say 18.
Start high.
Yeah, okay. So I recommend, or I move that we pass Resolution 2024-34, authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a interlocal agreement with Harris County with the price of $18,000.
I'll second.
All those in favor? All those against? Any abstentions? The motion carries. All right, next up is 13 on the consent agenda. Consider Resolution 2024-35, authorizing the city manager to enter into agreement with the Burdett for Clark Henry Park multi-use diamond field design, construction documents, bidding, and construction phase services. Robert.
Good evening, Council. This item is to authorize the city manager to enter an agreement with Burdick Consultants for the conceptual design and construction documents and bidding and construction phase services for the Clark Henry Multi-Use Fields Project. The Clark Henry Park Multi-Use Fields Project, as previously studied in the Parks Master Plan, will allow for a variety of user groups to utilize the fields regularly. The site's drainage and maintenance will be addressed through this phase to provide a safe and usable facility. The overall project requirements and associated services are a detailed and iterative process. Therefore, the following is not intended to be exhaustive. Rather, it serves to establish a basis of agreement upon a certain project parameters and an understanding of significant elements to be considered in the scope of work. Following are certain facts, understanding of city expectations and initial project requirements as we understand them. Multi-use diamond ball field with lighting, backstop, and irrigation. A T-ball field, spectator seating with a shade structure option to be considered. Exploring fencing options along the trail, and any landscaping and hardscape along the impact areas as needed. The total cost for this is expected to be $114,500, which includes surveying and geotechnical work. As part of our capital improvement program, we have set aside $255,000 in our current fiscal year for the project. At the end of last fiscal year, the council moved $500,000 from the general fund to the CIP for this project. We also anticipate putting additional funding for this project into the fiscal year 25 budget as well. The city manager has submitted a request for congressional community project funding for the entirety of this project. If approved, staff would immediately begin conceptual meetings to formulate a plan and an updated opinion of probable construction costs prior to the finalization of the next fiscal year's budget. Initial plans would target the construction of the fields to minimize the impact of the services and events offered within the park. And I know it has been discussed tonight as the total cost of this project. OPC from Burdick Consultants, which is an opinion of probable construction cost, had these fields at a low end $1.03 million and a high end $1.14 million.
Is there any discussion?
Quick question. I don't know if this is best for Austin or the city attorney, but if a bond that may or may not include these items is voted down by the city, does that mean these items cannot be pursued by other means?
No, it does not.
Does that just mean that we can't borrow those or sell those bonds?
I would like to point out the fact that improvements to everything in here, improvements to Clark Henry and all of our parks is part of our comprehensive plan. This isn't a new idea. None of this is new. That has been in place since, I believe, the first iteration was 2016. Is that correct, Austin? So this isn't new. This isn't a new idea. It's not being slid onto the agenda like anything else that has been suggested tonight. It's something that has been around. I don't see a problem with this. I think it's moving forward and paying as we can go with stuff that we have budgeted for.
Well, and originally it was grouped in with that bond so that we could gain some synergies and do multiple projects by saving some monies in the longer term. And so unfortunately that didn't work out. And so now we're going to have to piecemeal it.
I was just going to point out, in addition to being part of the comprehensive plan, it's also specifically mentioned in the Parks Master Plan, which, both the comprehensive plan and the Parks Master Plan had lots of community input and updates, and have gone through various and sundry committees, Parks and Rec, Planning and Zoning, as well as Council.
Right, and then the amount of community events that have increased year over year in the city, that is the stage of a lot of our community events. And you all know, if it rains, we are done for a few days. So I think the value this has specifically on an impact on our community directly, all ages, this is one of the ones I think needs to be done first. Any further discussion? I will take a motion.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2024-35.
I'll second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. All right, now we move on to item G, our regular agenda. First up, we are going to consider Resolution 2024-36, and this is awarding the bid and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Environmental Allies for the Congo Lane Subdivision Drainage Improvements Project. Robert?
So on March 27th, city staff received bid documents for the Congo Lane Subdivision Drainage Improvement Project, and we received 7 responsive bids for this project, as you can see in this table below. Reconstruction of Congo Lane from Senate to Ecuador will include the following construction activities: demolition of existing road, abandonment of existing utilities, installation of new water and storm facilities, and the construction of a new road and sidewalks. City staff and consulting engineering firm Garza EMC worked together to ensure bidding was conducted in compliance with all applicable federal, state, and local standards. Environmental Allies has submitted the lowest responsible bid for the project at $2.9 million. The consulting firm's projected cost estimate was just above $4 million. Environmental Allies comes with a recommendation from the consulting engineering firm Garza EMC, who has confirmed that the contractor shows relevant project experience with 21 years of general contracting involvement. Additionally, city staff conducted reference checks soliciting feedback from recent clients regarding the contractor's performance and addressing complaints, managing time, and handling change orders. The feedback received was predominantly positive. The cost to perform the Congo Lane subdivision project will be paid through the 2023 bond election funding, in which residents approved in an allocation of $15.5 million for 5 street reconstruction projects, including Congo Lane.
Any discussion? I will ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-36.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. And we will move on. Number 2, to consider resolution 24-37, closing the Jersey Meadow Golf Club Bridge to vehicular traffic. Robert.
Good evening again. As we approach the final stages of construction for the new golf course clubhouse, our focus has shifted towards renovating existing structures. Staff have planned operation of both buildings, revisiting the necessity of closing the bridge to vehicular traffic for enhanced operational efficiency and safety. With the expansion of our facility and the growing popularity of the golf course, there is a pressing need to optimize traffic flow with the parking lot for both safety and convenience. Vehicular traffic counts in 2018 revealed an average of 1,300 on weekdays and 744 cars per weekend day crossing the bridge, many of which simply are passing through. We have seen a rise in the number of golfers steadily over the last 5 years, with an anticipated 52,000 rounds of golf this year. Closing the bridge to vehicular traffic will enable golf carts to utilize it while also providing a designated lane for pedestrian access, facilitating movement to additional parking across the bayou. The upcoming additions of a restaurant and convention center are expected to draw larger crowds, and this measure will alleviate congestion, ensuring a more enjoyable experience for patrons. There is potential that there will often be activity in the restaurant and the convention center, all while a full field of golfers are present. The maximum amount of golfers that we can hold on the golf course are right around 250. This permanent closure of the bridge was requested during the November 13th, 2023 Golf Advisory Board meeting, and it was formally placed on the agenda to discuss and vote on a closure recommendation during the March 11th, 2024 meeting. The committee mentioned that is a good idea given that the new construction plans will attract additional attendance. The committee does not want to create barriers to potential events due to excessive pass-through traffic and congestion. The committee officially recommends the bridge be closed to vehicular traffic, voting with 6 voting in favor and 1 against.
And I will open up to discussion.
I will start out because I live closest to the bridge, so I call dibs. Living in Wyndham Village, and then before that on Kester Street, moved here in 2004, probably right after it was extended. So I'll go through a little history because some of this I didn't know until this weekend when I was preparing for the meeting. Golf course was actually started in 1956. When it was sold to Cameron Ironworks in 74, I think it was Cameron that expanded it to 27 or 36 holes. I'm not sure when the bridge was constructed. I read somewhere between 89 and 1995, but the purpose of the bridge at that point was to connect the main golf course and clubhouse parking lot with the auxiliary golf course and clubhouse, or not clubhouse, I'm sorry, all auxiliary, the other 9 to 18 holes that were there, which are now the detention pond, and the extra parking lot that was there. They poured asphalt, there's there. August 2000, city purchased the golf course. In March 2002, council approved an asphalt driveway to connect Jersey Meadow Golf Course with Jersey Meadow Drive, which at that time ended right at where the Lakes of Jersey Village, also known as the Red Roof houses, are. And this kind of completed the roadway by adding pavement between the two. In September of 2011, council talked about a Jersey Meadows extension. No action was taken. Jersey Meadow cut-through traffic was talked about in August 2014. No action was taken. Staff provided some ideas on how to mitigate issues, limit the bridge to only carts, make path one way, or close off access at the end of Lakes of Jersey Village subdivision. 2015, a truck got stuck, a cement truck, as far as I remember, got stuck on the bridge. So it shouldn't have been on the bridge anyway because the bridge is for 5,000 pounds. And there was inspection, there's some paperwork there. Traffic study was conducted in 2015 and 16 primarily about cut-through traffic. And one of the points was that emergency vehicles, and I'm thinking they're talking fire and EMS, Chief Pitts, cannot take the golf course bridge due to its weight limitations. Comprehensive Plan 2016 mentioned the cut through. 2017, there's an example of what Jersey Meadows Extended would look like. In 2019, Jersey Meadows Extension was a part of the capital improvements plan, and then in 2020, it has not been on there since then. I could go on a couple more points. My point is this has been back and forth since 2002. The whole road and bridge. The safety issue about the safety issue about the bridge is not because of the bridge itself. It's for 5,000 pounds and some. 5 tons. My apologies. 10,000. Okay, I knew there was a 5 in there somewhere. Okay, apologies, but it's about the traffic. If we're going to increase traffic and pedestrians and golfers at Jersey Meadow, there's going to be more people who are not looking for cars. If you let cars go through there and treat it like a road, there's going to be more people not looking for people in cars. They're looking to take a right to get out on the bridge or coming into the bridge to get out to Rio Grande. And so to me, this is a matter of traffic versus safety in shutting down the bridge. That said, I think an alternative to the traffic caused on Village Green, and Rio Grande, and also the extension of Jersey Meadow all need to be discussed. They're not on the agenda tonight. We can discuss them in theory, but we can't act on those tonight. But I'm for whatever we can do to mitigate safety risk, and if we can, mitigate inconvenience to our residents. And I leave it to others to talk more.
Well, I have to say that I'm with Mr. Edwards over there and tell you that I lived here a lot longer than I will admit out loud before I even knew cars could go on that bridge. And it was not until I was on the Comprehensive Planning Committee and we took a tour and someone pointed it out that I realized it was actually something you could drive over. I had no idea. I had lived here at that point in time at least 5 years. So had no idea. That being said, I do understand people like to use it. And I do. I mean, I would use it myself when I would go to Sam's. However, I have also been on that bridge when I have been going across and someone's decided that it was a two-way bridge, or that it was a two-lane bridge instead of a one-lane bridge, and sat there waiting to be hit. I think when it comes down to it, for me, the big thing is it is a cut through. It's a cut through. It's a cut through a parking lot, and like it's been stated before, it's in the state of Texas, you're not supposed to do that. I think we need to close it, and I think we need to come up with an alternative solution. I think it's time to find the alternative solution instead of continuously discussing the possibility of an alternative solution.
I stopped using the cut through years ago because I was almost personally hit because someone didn't yield when they should have yielded. So because of that, I just avoided the area altogether because I didn't want to have an accident, be a part of an accident. And so, I mean, obviously that's a personal choice. And now I, use alternate routes in and out of the neighborhood. When I was a teenager, that was a dirt road from the golf course to what we called the Fun Center, which was the driving range and putt-putt. That was where the Red Roof neighborhood is now. That was a golf cart bridge, as Drew mentioned, to get from the clubhouse to the Third Nine, and that was all that it was meant for. And as you can tell, this has been discussed for 10 years now. I don't know if you guys have seen the commercial on TV that says, "Don't let your future you hate you because of decisions you've made." We all are dealing with things that prior administrations punted down the road. And so we're having to spend more money because now we're having to fix things that cannot cannot remain the way that they are any longer. And I think we are trying to stay ahead of the game and look forward and making decisions to care for things from a preventative measures perspective as opposed to a reactionary measure. So, when people come and say that we're spending money in inappropriate ways, it's because we've been left with a mess that we're trying to correct. I'm in favor of closing the bridge, but I'm also in favor of finding a agreeable solution. So I would suggest that we not necessarily take a vote this evening, but that we do have a work session to discuss what those alternatives could and should be before we make our final decision.
And I wanted to touch on that, and I completely agree. And I wanted to touch on a little bit of someone said something about being more transparent and just being, honest with you guys. When we look at the agenda, there are some things during construction that you don't really think about until there was no cars in it, and they realize, like, man, this is a lot safer. And you have a microscope on construction and infrastructure when you're going under construction. And then we're learning of it. And yes, it had to be put on the agenda because of the committee's recommendation. And we had 3 days to rush and post on social media, hoping that people could see. And then also knowing that we can't respond. It's just such a tough spot to be in, to say, here's something that's really, really huge on the agenda coming up. P.S. We can't really talk about it. XOXO, see you in a little bit. It's just unfortunate timing. However, it is the way we have to run. I do love how many people have showed up. I agree with Sherry. I think it would be a really wise decision to table it so we could. I think the idea of closing it due to safety is probably something we could all agree on, or amending it in some way, but I think it's more complex than just do we keep it open or not. It's what does that mean after? And I think it would be easy to make a decision of keeping it open or not maybe today, but I think until we solidify what is plan A, B, C after that, it's just a little premature to do in a 3-day time span.
Not where I thought we'd be. Okay, so I absolutely agree with the golf course committee that it is the best interest of the golf course to close the bridge. Do I think it's used appropriately? No. Do I think it's illegal to cross it? Nope, not at all. The law says that crossing private property without stopping, you're supposed to stop there. So it's not really illegal, in my opinion. I have been an advocate. Everybody I've talked to have said this very loudly and clearly. The bridge was removed in 2019 from the capital improvement plan. It needs to go back on the plan. 1,300 cars a day go through there. We need to build the road. Someone asked me, well, we need to get it on the agenda for tonight. No, the CIP is a 1-year thing. If we talked about it at every meeting, we would be constantly changing our 5 to 10-year plan. That's not appropriate. It's not the way things are done. The capital improvement plan is talked about in the fall during the budget sessions. I feel like there's enough support up here to get it back into the plan. I want to make sure that that happens. Unfortunately, I will not be voting at that meeting, but I will be there. Should we open or close it right now? If you had asked me 3 days ago when I posted online and told everyone that I would not give you my opinion, I wanted to hear from everyone, I would tell you that I wanted the bridge closed. I think that's the most appropriate thing to do. Until I went to the golf course today, and I saw a wonderful sign that I think Kurt and a couple others alluded to that says, attention, the Jersey Meadows Bridge will be closed July 10th, 2023 to July 2024. I have to agree with others. It is incredibly inappropriate PR. It was not executed well, and to close the bridge in July of 2024, after we just said it will be opened, is not correct. I'm fine with more discussions, but we probably need to look at keeping the bridge open until we can make a plan for the future that's long-term and works, because we clearly said it would be opening.
I agree. I wanted to touch a little bit more on the PR stance. I feel like Jen and I have yelled at the top of our lungs that there needs to be something that we kind of put in when we do see a big ticket item. You know, this isn't the first time where something's been posted and we're like running around like, you know, crazy people trying to educate as many as we can. I will say that we have recommended in the budget coming up in June, July, that we have a communication, I don't know what the formal title, liaison for the city that can do things like this, comb through the proposed agenda items that even get suggested and say, what do I need to have that is easy to digest that I can put out there? I know there is some complications of the logistics and saving things. If Jersey Village posted on their website and then they posted Jersey Village News, the city can't do that. It would just be, Austin can explain that further.
It'd be extremely difficult to capture all the comments and for the public records that we have to do. When things are on the city's Facebook page, we've got software that automatically captures comments, posts, everything. If it's on a privately run group, it's pretty much impossible for us to do that, or would capture everybody's comments on everything, which would open it all up to public records and all sorts of issues.
If this new communication position was open and they had an easy to digest thing that they were posting on the city website, it would be very easy for them to email us that beautiful Canva or picture, and we as council could post that happily. I was telling Austin, just the way that the algorithm is now, sometimes I see things from the city of Jersey Village that was like last week that I wish I would have seen a little bit sooner. And so I think it's a common issue, or things, you know, social media is just evolutionary. We are on top of that. We're trying to remediate it. If you have other ideas of how we could get the message out other than the marquee and the website without causing, you know, a big legal issue, we are open to ideas. That's what we could come up with so far. So that's kind of off topic, but just letting you know, we do have that forethought of how can we make this easily accessible to most of the citizens so you don't feel like it was slid under. Because I honestly think that you guys don't think that, but I understand also from your vantage point how it can appear as such. Back to the bridge, sorry. I think we should table this, I'm like, no vote. I don't think we should have a vote and table this discussion until next month.
I would like to.
Yeah, I was going to say no action because tabling's too
I would like
administratively.
to make a motion that we direct the city manager to look at options to extend Jersey Meadows the next time the CIP is reviewed in the fall.
What about other options as well as Rio Grande? And
I'd actually also like to include expanding Village Green in that with a protected left turn lane.
Agree.
Expanding, you mean widening it?
Did I not say widen?
What you said expanding. So I was like,
widening.
Where are you going to expand?
I think
widening.
So I was actually,
so
I was
tired.
just looking for simple language to make my motion, because I've sat and thought about this, and my thought is you make Village one way from Rio Grande to the end of the houses, you make the Jersey Meadow extension one way, but I felt all that can be had during the CIP discussion, which is why I kept the motion succinct to I would like to direct the city manager to look at options to expand Jersey Meadows Drive during the CIP in discussion in the fall of this year.
Do we have to wait that long?
And in the interim with the bridge.
That's all separate. I'm just motioning to talk that we talked about this bridge during the CIP. It doesn't have anything to do with whether or not we open or close it now.
So we'll briefly touch on CIP stuff in May at the budget stuff on the 15th, I believe it is. And then we'll extensively talk about it on July 12th, I believe it is, during our budget meeting. So that's when those discussions would happen. As for the bridge itself, the original plan all along was to reopen it when all of the construction was done. We do hope all the construction is done in July. That may or may not be the case. If it happens to go, then construction extends into August. We're probably not going to be able to open the bridge yet. But at this point, that's how we would operate, is when the construction is done, the bridge would reopen unless council were to direct us otherwise.
The bridge does not need to be open during construction.
I think
in case anybody
can...
was thinking differently, just to make sure.
No, I don't.
Anybody was?
I don't think it does. Some other alternatives, because not everyone's privy to everyone's emails or social media posts that I saw, were making that bridge one way, making it only used during certain hours of the day, things like that. So I'd like an avenue when we can have those discussions as well. I don't know if that's part of the CIP discussion or or direct staff to think of alternatives to present if we consider this motion or this agenda item again.
I think we can talk about that all during the May CIP. And
I hadn't thought of that, just making it one way in the morning and one way in the evening.
Could be an enforcement problem.
I'd also like to point out that there's a lot of people in Jersey Village that can't even follow school signs. So
I saw a guy run every single stop sign from Smith and Rio Grande all the way around to Village Green and Jones Road.
Did you get a license plate?
I wish I had a license plate. I would have called him in.
Unfortunately, we already had the...
Do I have a second for my motion?
Yeah. I second James' motion.
Okay. All those in favor?
I don't know that I caught the whole motion. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Sir, I'm so sorry. I don't know if you can hear me very well. But I hear you. I hear your words. I understand your passion. Sir. Okay. Hold on. Sir.
So Sherry, to clarify, I feel strongly the bridge should go back on. So I'm making a motion to get some people on record. I would like to direct the city manager to bring us options for Jersey Meadows extension during the CIP discussion for next year's budget.
Got it.
Should
Okay.
happen May and July.
And I second.
All those in favor? Start over. I'm sorry. There was a little bit of a commotion. James made a suggestion to direct the city manager to have this discussion during the CIP during the budget.
What'd you like?
So this discussion's about reopening and closing the bridge. My motion is that we direct the city manager to bring us options for extending Jersey Meadows Drive during the CIP discussion of the next budget year. There will still have to be a discussion about the bridge. This does not address the short term.
So he made a motion that was not on the agenda.
We're taking no action on the agenda item.
Right. He made a motion that could make further discussion later. We're good? Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All those in favor? Will be stopped. I thought we had to start over. Okay, the motion carries. Oh my. Hello, everyone. We did it. We made it. All right, I'll move on to item H, mayor and council comments. I'll start over there with you, Jen.
I just wanted to point out and say a congratulations to Austin. It was mentioned earlier about him winning the award with, through U of H. Very well deserved. His job is a tough job. No way in heck I would do it at all. But I just want to say congratulations. Very well deserved.
I was going to bring that up.
Thank you.
James?
Exactly what I was going to say is I think a lot of people do not know the impact and how far-reaching Austin's impact is in the city and outside of the city, and the millions of federal grant dollars that Austin has brought into the city. All of the work in the Wall Street neighborhood and the Berm was done by federal grant money and state grant money because of Austin Blease.
Councilmember Watson?
We have a couple of elections going on right now. One in the city, which you might have heard about, and also seek some more information on the Harris County Appraisal District. They're electing 3 new board members. State law has changed, so now they're allowing the city representative or citizens, to elect members to the HCAD board. So a lot of that's in community impact and other online. So take a look at that and go vote. You cannot vote here for HCAD. You have to go to a Harris County early voting center or election day center. Jersey Meadows is open. As we mentioned, we'll have a budget workshop and discussion on the 15th. And make your plans for July 12th, because that's when we actually talk about the entire budget. And that sets a priority for the entire next year of what the city's priorities are. And your input and discussion and listening there is extremely important. Don't forget to protest your taxes, and kudos to Mr. Singleton, who is not running for re-election this year, and thank him for his 6 years of effort on this council.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Shepherd?
I would just like to encourage all of you to go try out the new clubhouse golf course. My husband and I had dinner there on Friday, and we heard comments like, "Oh, look, there's our neighbors," and "Oh, look, that's going to be my spot at the bar," and "Oh, we're going to come every Thursday." So it was very exciting to see the number of people that came out to support, the number of young people, little ones that were out running around, and folks that were actually enjoying the great weather out on the patio and getting to know their neighbors. So looking forward to the next chapter because I think it's going to be a great ride. I agree. And then I just wanted to thank everybody who came up today and made comments. I was bracing myself for today, but we had a lot of very different opinions, and everybody was graceful, and there was no hostility. And really, this is what it's all about. Can you come up with your neighbors and have different opinions? And we accomplished that today. So I do want to thank you for making that easy on me. I was a little worried, but thank you so much for being so great to us and having a lot of passion for the city. I really couldn't ask for anything else. And then we can move on to this meeting is adjourned. The time now is 9:07. All right, guys. See you.